Today on CJ Off-Road, we're going to talk about some tires. What I'm going to do is talk about what is the best tire for your JL or Gladiator build, go over some specifications on the different tires, and really just dive in with you guys. Now I know tires are one of the biggest questions when you buy a new Jeep Wrangler or are looking to upgrade. In this first episode, what we're going to be doing is going over the basics of tires, including the tread pattern, the basic wear on them, and the height, and pretty much anything talking about the characteristics of them. In a later episode, we're going to be talking about tire height and what is the largest size you can fit on, depending on what lift and what wheels you go with. That is one of the major questions, but first today, we want to help you pick out what tire is right for you, so let's get started. So the first tire we have out today is going to be the Nitto Ridge Grappler, and we pulled it out in the 35 by 12.5 17. Now what I would recommend the Nitto Ridge Grappler for is some mild off-road use with a higher concentration on highway and daily usage. I really like these tires, and they do have nice top tread, as well as their sidewalls are extremely beefy. These do weigh in at about 69 pounds for the 35-inch size, and they have an 18/32 tread depth. The tread depth is actually really high for an all-terrain and is going to allow this thing to wear really well over a long period of time and give you a good tread life out of it. So we're going to measure the actual tread width. And on this, it is about 10.5, right at about 10.5 inches. And now we'll measure the unmounted height of the tire. And we're looking at about 34 3/8 of an inch. So this is pretty true to a 35-inch tire, and when you fill it up with air, it is going to mount up to about a 35. Let's spin it on its side and check out the sidewall too. As you can see, one of the things Nitto is notorious for is giving a really aggressive sidewall, and they didn't hold that back on the Ridge Grappler. Although this is an all-terrain tire, it does have a very aggressive sidewall, going down almost 4 inches on the side there and protruding out over 1/4 of an inch at the largest point. Now, a sidewall is going to help you when you are in mud or snow situations, and you need to really power through and get some extra traction on the side of your tire. It'll also help you when you air down and grip onto the rocks onto the sidewall of the tire and give you a more aggressive look when it's on your vehicle. Now, we've picked these in no particular order as far as tires, but now we're going to move on to the next one. The next tire that we're going to talk about is the General Grabber X3 Mud Terrain tire. Now, this tire is very aggressive and weighs in at 77 pounds with a 21/32 tread depth. What I really like about this tire is that they have been tried and proven all over the world, including Alaska, with another YouTuber called Expedition Overland. Now what I like about also these tires is that they have a very aggressive sidewall, and they have a lot of siping in here to help you get snow and other debris out of them and not kick it up onto your vehicle or other vehicles behind you. So this is once again a 35 by 12.5 tire, and you can see that the tread width here is just about, I'd say 9 and maybe 7/8 inch. So not too bad, a little bit smaller than the 12, but it gives us more meat on the outside here. Now let's do the height. For the height on this tire, we're looking at about 34 1/4, and that's unmounted without a wheel in there or any air. So pretty true to the size, and once you put some air in there, it will expand and make the tire larger. On the General Grabber X3, they did incorporate a very aggressive sidewall, as well as their signature red letters on the side. If you've ever seen red letters on an off-road vehicle, it's more than likely a General Grabber, maybe a BF Goodrich, but they are known for those red letters. But on the inside here, you do have it all blacked out, so if you don't want to be that flashy, you can go with a black. Now I'd say that these sidewalls do have about 1/8 of an inch of protrusion, so not as aggressive as a Nitto, but still definitely something there, and they do stick down about 3 inches. So overall, a great tire if you're looking for more of a mud tire and something that's going to get you through some harsher terrain. As these do have deeper tread blocks, they will be a little bit louder, and the weight on them is the highest of this list. They come in at 77.4 pounds, and that is more than any of the other tires, so a little bit more weight, but you do get definitely a lot more beefy tread up top and a lot of other features incorporated into this tire. The next tire that we're going to talk about is the Fuel Gripper MT. And once again, we have this in the 35 by 12.5 17 size, and we've got it here from our friends over at Fuel. Now, one thing you will notice about this is that it is a more different mud terrain tire than you've seen in the past, and they've actually incorporated their F logo into the actual tread pattern. Now, one thing I do like about the Fuel tire is that they are the lightest out of anything on this list here, coming in at only 54 pounds. They do have the same 21/32 tread depth, meaning that they're going to last for a long time. I will note also that these are extremely quiet on the highway. We've run them in the past on our Chevrolet Silverado, and they've been very quiet and lasted a very long time. So just measuring these quickly, it looks like they come in at about 10 5/8 inch. This is the largest so far on our list, but we still got a few more to go. Overall though, it is wider than most of the tires. Now let's go ahead and we'll check out the height unmounted to a wheel and see what that's looking like. So it looks like we're just about a hair under 34 inches. So a little bit smaller there. Once again, it is unmounted, so I would expect once you put some air in here, it'll be about 34.5. But looking at it just for now, it's just under 34. So maybe 15/16, 33 and 15/16, but right underneath there. Looking at a side profile of this tire, the Fuel Gripper MT does have a shorter sidewall profile on it. It maybe comes down about 2 inches and protrudes out a little bit less than 1/4 inch. There are some smaller little treads on the sidewall. However, when you do air down, these will help you grip on the rocks, snow, sand, or anything that you're going through. I will recommend these tires, like I said, for a lot of highway driving as they are very quiet and they do wear really well. They're a softer tire and they're also very light, so you won't really notice that rotating mass when you're on them. But that's it for the Fuel Gripper, but let's move on to the next. The next tire on the list is going to be the Cooper ST. This tire weighs in at 65 pounds and has a 17/32 tread depth on it. And what I like about this Cooper is that being that it is a 35 by 12.5, it is a very tall looking tire. To me, it almost reminds me of a farm and implement tire that's really gonna get you out of a bad situation if you're stuck on the trail. So when we measure this, it comes in at about 10.5 inches. It's right in the middle there of what we've been measuring with these widths on the tires. Let's go ahead and measure the height of this. Mind you, it is a 35. It looks tall, so let's see what it comes in at. It's about 34.1/8 inch unmounted, so we'll get a little bit taller as I've been mentioning before, but 34.1/8, I think what makes it look so tall is that the sidewalls kind of blend into it. So they're not really aggressive and protruding out. It really gives it some height there by blending into the tread on the top. So one thing about the Cooper ST is that, like I said before, the sidewalls aren't really as aggressive as most off-road tires are. Now, since this is an all-terrain, you wouldn't expect much on the sidewall, but being that we've already tested a couple and they've had very aggressive sidewalls on an all-terrain, this one is not the same as that. You can see that the sidewall maybe protrudes a 1/16 of an inch. What you're gonna get from the side of these is a much smoother sidewall, which will help you cut through more situations. This is gonna be good for sandy situations where you want these to really cut through the sand versus push them. So I will give that a little bit of a benefit over some of these other tires where you are gonna have more of a sidewall catching on some sand or instances like that. Overall, the Cooper ST is a great tire and has been around for a very long time. The Cooper ST is a great choice, but let's move on to the next one. The next tire on our list is the Nitto Trail Grappler. Now this is a Trail Grappler and an MT tire, and it is the one that I personally run on my 2018 JL Hemi. I really like this tire, plus it has some great features for when you're out on the trail that I really do take advantage of when I air down. And one of the main advantages of this tire is the really blocky tread up here and the very aggressive sidewall. It makes for a great off-road tire and is going to be great for someone that sees a lot more trail time than the average daily driver. Since we were constantly mounting tires onto wheels, we didn't have a set of the 17-inch 35 Nitto Trail Grapplers, but we had to make do with this 20-inch here, but we're still going to measure it, and it'll be the same for the height and the tread width. However, it will be different with the sidewall here, but we'll take that into account when we look into it further. So we're looking at about 10 5/8 of an inch on the tread width here, and that's pretty standard on a Nitto. They do run a little wider on the tread at the top. Plus, if you look at them when they have air in them, they are a very blocky tire. So if you look at the top, it is a very straight, flat edge. Unlike, say, a BF Goodrich Ko2, it is very straight, and that's one of the reasons they are more rigid and durable off-road. Now, I will give it to Nitto on the height of these. This one is about 34.5 inches without any air in it. So these are very true to their advertised size. And when I put my 37s on the JL, they were actually taller than that. They were about 37.25. So very true to their size when they have the full tread depth. And that's something I do like about the Nitto. If you're looking for that exact height, you're gonna get it out of this tire. Like I mentioned before, this is our only 20-inch wheel, and when you do increase the wheel size, you lose the size of sidewall you can have, which means that the sidewall is gonna be a little bit less aggressive and smaller to make sure you can fit everything in there. Now, what I will mention is that it has a very blocky sidewall. So when you air this down, you are gaining a few extra inches of tread onto the tire, and that's why I really love to have them on my Jeep. When I am down to 10 or 15 PSI, I can actually gain about an inch more of traction with the sidewall here, which is great if you're out on the trail. The Nitto Trail Grappler has been tried and true and is a great option for a vehicle that will see about 50-50 time on the highway and on the trail. If you go on the trail more, this is gonna be a great option for you, but we're gonna move on to the next one and show you that. The next tire on our list is going to be the BF Goodrich Ko2 All-Terrain. Now, this tire comes factory on a lot of performance vehicles, including the brand new Ford Raptor. This tire weighs in at 66.5 pounds and measures about 15/32 on the tread depth. It does have the lowest tread depth of any of the tires we've tested and is more suited for an on-road vehicle. I will say though that these all-terrains do handle up when you throw them out on the trail. They can't go through as much mud and deep snow as some of those mud terrains we have tested. Now I will say also that the BF Goodrichs are notorious for running a little bit smaller than what they're claimed, and this is a 35 by 12.5 17. So the actual tread width on this tire is about 9 7/8 inch, and with this you do have a lot of blocks that have lines cut into them to give you extra traction when you're on the road. That is something different that most of the tires we've tested today have some of these, but they don't have as many as the BF Goodrich does. Now let's do the height and see what that comes in at. It's on the ground. We're looking at about 33 7/8. So once again, this is unmounted, but obviously the shortest of today. It is a 35-inch tire, but it's almost an inch and an eighth shorter. So you are gonna get less, especially when these wear down, than what the claimed size is. So looking at the side profile of the BF Goodrich Ko2, you will notice that it does have a decently aggressive sidewall. That's one thing that BF Goodrich claims for these tires, is that they are a true all-terrain and can be used in some harsh situations. I've personally put these up to the test in our 2012 Raptor, and we've used the heck out of them, and they will last a very long time. BF Goodrich tires do tend to last a lot longer than other manufacturers based on their compound and the way that they are built. Overall guys, the BF Goodrich Ko2 tire is a very tried and true tire that is incorporated into a lot of stock vehicles, including the Jeep JL Rubicon and a lot of other factory vehicles. So the manufacturers wouldn't choose these for no reason, and they are a great riding tire that is quiet on the highway and can go through some decently mild terrain. Now the last tire on this list is going to be the Ironman All Country MT. Now this is true to its name, and this is a completely mud terrain tire. There's nothing about this that screams all terrain, and it is very aggressive on the tread blocks up top. One thing about this tire that I like is that they are in the cheaper end, and they do have some traits with it that are a very aggressive MT style, but on the road, they lack in a few different areas. What you will notice first off is that this is extremely blocky. So if you are on some more sharper or finer rocks, this is gonna really grip on well. However, when you're going down the highway or if it's rainy or snowy out, it's not really gonna be the best in here. There's not really too much siping and or little notches here to really catch the road. So you will have to be a little bit more careful driving this mud terrain on the highway. Now the treads on here are about 20.5, 30 seconds. And if you look here on the width, they measure at about 10.25. So it is a nice wide kind of area there for your tread to grab on the ground, and it is really deep. So you won't really have too much issue when you're worrying about running these down on tread. So the height of these tires, these are a 35-inch labeled on the side, and they do run about 34 1/8 of an inch, which is pretty standard on the rest of them we've measured today. When they do fill up with air, you will have them at about 34.5 inches, so pretty close to a 35, but not all the way there. Now on the sidewall shot here, you can really truly see the blockiness of the treads, as well as see the sidewall is decently aggressive. It almost reminds me of a Nitto, except for the fact that it is a dual layered sidewall, so it protrudes at a maximum at maybe 1/8 of an inch, but comes down almost 3 inches on the side there. So when you do air this down, you will definitely have an aggressive sidewall to help you grab along there. Overall, this is gonna be a great tire if you're primarily in an off-road application, and it's gonna suit your needs really well. Well guys, I really hope that was enough information for you. Overall, picking the right tire for your vehicle is a very subjective thing and really depends on how you are personally going to use it. Now over some of the specifications we went over today, we talked about the width and we talked about certain aspect ratios of the tire that are going to affect the driving capabilities of your vehicle, and you should definitely research them more based on what I told you about today. If you are interested in getting a set of tires mounted on some wheels, be sure to check us out at CJ Pony Parts, as we do mount and balance them. Adding your TPMS sensors can all be done on the website. Until next time guys, I'll see you out on the trails, hopefully with a brand new set of tires.